Let's talk about awkward blackouts. Believe me, I've had my share of blackouts due to drugs and alcohol. We'll go over a couple funny ones. Let's make this a bit more lighthearted and entertaining of a video, despite the fact that blacking out is anything but lighthearted. In actuality, it's very dangerous and scary. Do not do it. Um, okay, so number one. Now, my freshman year of college, I had gone to a different school than the one that one of my best friends from primary school and grade school and whatnot went to. This kid was named Brian. Brian was a huge science geek. So when I go to visit Brian at his school, I'm expecting more of the same, just Brian geeking it out on a college level. Instead, I get to that school, couldn't have been more wrong. This kid's got a gorgeous girlfriend. Like he hadn't kissed a girl in high school even. He's got a gorgeous girlfriend in college. He's hanging out with like all the athletes and the cool people and everything. And I'm just like, man, this kid reinvented himself in college. So, but yeah, like so we get there and these kids are partying. I mean, they're partying. What I did at my college wasn't partying. These kids are partying. You know, for me, a night out would have been like, you know, maybe like the whole night drinking one of those 40 ounces of malt liquor, getting it all down over the course of the night. Like, that's what I was used to. That's what my tolerance was based around. So I get to this other school, and they're like pouring shots of 151, and I'm just like, it was obviously the next level, if not 10 levels up. So we're at this party in a dorm where it's like, it's when I say party in a dorm, I mean everyone's in the hallways of the dorm, kind of going from room to room. The whole dorm's having a party, and you know I'm talking to people and hanging out and getting to know people and everything. But everything's spinning. I'm at that point where like I'm losing touch with reality. And the last thing I remember was like walking down the hallway of this dorm and like everything's like spinning and then the next thing I remember is I'm laying on the steps of a building. And I don't think it was the building that we were partying at. And so I get up and I'm like, I don't know where my friends are. I don't know where Brian is. I don't have a phone on me. I don't think, I don't even know if I carried a mobile phone in. That was 2003. Can't find Brian, so I had to like figure out how to get back to Brian's dorm. But what was funny about it was, I woke up with French braids in my hair. This was when I had like long hair down to here. During my blackout, someone or multiple people, I don't know, had given me French braids. And I also had this like flannel shirt on that I didn't own. So like someone had dressed me up like Pippi Longstocking style while I was blacked out. And yeah, I just went with it. I mean, I wore the braids the rest of the weekend and whatnot, but yeah, just wish I knew what happened while I was blacked out. Second one, now I made that video about dating the girl as a heroin addict. It was a recent video. This involves her. She was bisexual, so she had an affinity for women as well. And the one night, I had come into contact with like a decent amount of money, so I was like, we were spending money like crazy. And this was at the beginning of the relationship. Obviously, we all know what happened at the end of that relationship based on the other video. But right at the beginning, I mean, we were, living a lush lifestyle. There was a lot of money. And we went to the strip club one night. She wanted to go and, get her dances and whatnot. And so I went there so that we could indulge in her desires. I remember we were doing, your stereotypical doing cocaine in the bathroom of the strip club, and we thought we were so cool. But I would have had that night. It would have been alcohol, cocaine, heroin, and Klonazepam. So, and what's scary is that I drove us home from that strip club. That's what's scary. So we get back to the apartment, and I don't have any memory of anything after the drive home. Now, so it's the next morning. I wake up and or at least like back then, like I was never the kind of person to sleep naked. I would always wear like shirt and shorts or whatever. But I woke up and I was completely naked in the bed, and I'm like, well, this is a little bit weird. What happened? And it wasn't like we were just intimate or anything. Like, she was fully clothed. I was in the nude. And what she had told me, and this was when we were still living with my mother. So apparently what happened was I got back and came into our apartment and went into the bathroom and took all of my clothes off and folded them up into a little ball in my hands. And I was standing there in the bathroom with the door wide open, fully nude with my clothes in my hands, and I was crying like a little baby. So my girlfriend tried to come up to me and, what are you doing, whatever. And I guess I just snapped at her and was like, who are you? And was acting all terrified and everything. And unfortunately, my mother got involved too. So I was standing there nude also in front of my mother, having this freak out, drug freak out. I don't know what I was so terrified of, but as soon as the next morning, she started telling me what happened, I started to get these kind of loose flashbacks to being terrified, not being nude in the bathroom, but just the previous night being absolutely terrified of something and freaking out. So yeah, that is incredibly embarrassing. Yeah, that's bad. Next one would be I had this was when I was in Baltimore. For the time that I was homeless, I spent a lot of nights at the homeless shelter, but occasionally I would just sleep in an abandoned house or sleep outside, especially when it wasn't that cold. So in one particular night, I had just done a bunch of this would have been just heroin and alcohol. And I had just heroin and alcohol. I was just wandering aimlessly around the northwest side of Baltimore. And, I look back on it. Baltimore's they call it Bodymore murder land for a reason. Baltimore's a violent city. And to just think that I was just wandering around in the inner city, messed up on drugs like that. I mean, it's just, it looked crazy. But, so I had wandered and I would just walk and think to myself and fantasize. I mean, or not just go through elaborate, just stuff in my own head, entertaining myself. I'm not meaning perverted. I just mean thinking about fantastical situations and what fairy tales and everything is crazy. And I would just walk aimlessly around the streets thinking about stuff while I'm high. And this particular night, I had wandered and laid, or again, on the steps of a building, collapsed onto the steps of a building. And I was woken up. But here's the funny part is I had accidentally wandered into this part of Baltimore that was a known place for transsexual cross-dresser hookers. So it was let's say a 5 or 6 block by 5 or 6 block square where late at night there would just be these cross-dressing hookers on every corner. And, obviously the Johns would go there and everything. But, so I'm woken up. There's 3 of these cross-dressing, African-American dudes standing over me, saying, oh my God, is he okay? Is he okay? And they've got their fur coats on and everything. It was just quite a shock to be woken up to. And I'm just what the heck is going on? Who are these people? So yeah, they basically told me what happened. And yeah, that was just funny being woken up by them. Last one's going to be, I was living with my friend and this was right before I got thrown out in his apartment in Baltimore. So I'm coming home high and drunk every night. And some nights he would be there, some nights he wouldn't be there. So I came home the one night, and one of the rules that we had was I wasn't allowed to use his computer. But because I didn't have my own computer, I would just always use his computer. And I actually feel really bad about it looking back. But I would just use his computer without asking or being given permission. So I'm sitting there using his computer, and I just was washed over with this feeling of sadness, I'm destroying this friendship. I need to do something about it. So I took a piece of paper and a pen and just sat there at the computer desk and just wrote this letter by hand about how, like, I'm sorry that I'm going through this horrible time, and I'm sorry that he's feeling the effects of my addiction. I'm sorry for everything. I want to try and get help and treatment, and I promise that, I mean, unfortunately, just a bunch of lip service probably, but like, just saying, like, you're one of the best friends I've ever had. Please stick with me and I'll be okay. So I wrote this note and I put it on his pillow and went to go to sleep. And apparently, now he was on like multiple prescription medicines, and he would keep his medicines locked up in a briefcase under his bed. It's the kind of thing where, like, I knew where it was kept, but it was always 100%. Like, once in a while I would say, hey, can I have some Valium or something like that? And, he usually would oblige. But obviously I stuck out of his business. So I had passed out in my bed, and apparently I, for some reason, got up after passing out, went into his bedroom. Keep in mind that the note's on the pillow. Went into his bedroom, pulled out his thing with all of his prescription medicine in it, cracked open all the bottles, and just took like a handful of a couple different things. I mean, obviously, I wasn't like trying to sneak his drugs or whatever, because like I woke up, like, literally, I fell asleep on his bedroom floor, and he comes home to see me laying there with his prescription bottles all like over my body, and the briefcase thing like right, next to my legs. And he just was like, what are you doing? Why would you? So it wasn't like I was trying to like candidly steal his medicine, or maybe I was. I don't know. But yeah, like, it was just a horrible, horrible thing. Horrible contrast of the pillow, the note on the pillow, and the body on the floor covered in his drugs.